In a world ruled by appearances, masks and disguises are a must for an entertaining drama. So stay with me as we uncover all the secrets of these characters. Careful, there are spoilers ahead. In the first scene, we see a young woman driving at full speed. The city flashes by in lights as she grips the steering wheel tightly. This is Jiancheng and she's heading to Shanghai for a birthday. The celebration is for her sister Jian Wenqian, heiress of the wealthy family who welcomes her with music and elegance. Suddenly, the party comes to a screeching halt with the abrupt arrival of Jiancheng, the black sheep for her rebelliousness and refusal to marry wealthy suitors, leaving tense looks in her wake. The mother starts with the usual comparisons between the sisters, highlighting the virtues of one and the flaws of the other. And to intensify the moment, she accuses Jiancheng of making Wenqian's necklace disappear, a valuable item that sparks her suspicions. During the argument, Zhou Yufeng joins in, the man the family has chosen to become Jiancheng's husband, and the tension keeps rising. Shortly after, the necklace turns up and the family offers a cold, very mechanical apology. Jiancheng rejects the gesture without hesitation and, in a fit of anger, slaps Wenqian. She claims that her sister doesn't deserve the necklace because she's an adopted daughter and because it's an inheritance from their grandmother, further fueling the scandal. Back at the family home, the silence is broken by shouting. Her father beats her for the scene she caused that night and for having cancelled the wedding without his permission, asserting his authority through violence. But to formally annul the engagement, Jiancheng has to speak with Yufeng's uncle, Zhou Tianzhan, so she prepares herself to face this new obstacle. Shortly after, Jiancheng and Tianzhan meet for the first time, and something stirs between them as their eyes meet. She bluntly admits that she no longer wants to marry his nephew and asks for his approval to break off the engagement, to which he replies that he owes her 3 wishes because she once saved his life. And with that promise, he opens a door that could change everything. Shortly after, Jiancheng learns from a business partner that her sister Wenqian is also interested in Tingyan, and this information shakes up her plan. Furthermore, she realizes that if she gets involved with him, she would become Yufeng's aunt, even though he is older than her, which complicates the entire family dynamic. Meanwhile, the businessman calls his nephew and demands that he break off the engagement with Jiancheng. He insists that a real man understands rejection and that he doesn't want forced marriages in his family. However, Yufeng insists the next day that he is still going to marry her. But Tingyan already has a plan and decides to use his employee, Zhang Jiawei, to publicly announce that the relationship between Jiancheng and Yufeng ended because she got in the way. With no other options, the young man agrees to marry Jiawei as long as his uncle doesn't take away his shares in the company, leaving his poor pride trampled. The next day, Tingyan asks Jiancheng what her true intentions are in wanting to marry him, assuming she's after his fortune. She replies that she's only doing it to annoy Yufeng, and doubt settles between the two of them. The road ahead won't be easy. Jiancheng faces reprimands at home. Her family is furious about the broken engagement and because the news is already spreading everywhere. Her father, completely enraged, tells her to go to the company to apologize to Yufeng's family, and the humiliation weighs heavily. However, when they're alone, Jiancheng reminds Wenqian that she knows a dirty secret about her that could compromise her. She knows that Wenqian is having an intimate relationship with Zhang Yuhui and threatens to expose them both if they keep interfering with her plans, ramping up the pressure. As night falls, Jiancheng visits Tingyan. But she doesn't go alone. She's accompanied by her best friend Meng Deng, who is secretly in love with his business partner, Qin Suo, a distracted young man who has no idea how much Meng likes him. Later on, Jiancheng gets into a heated argument with Jiawei. The altercation ends in an accident when both of them slip and fall down the stairs. After the mishap, they are quickly taken to the hospital. Tingyan takes care of her attentively, watching her every move, while those present look on with suspicion, as many believe she is faking, and the doubt taints the whole atmosphere. At one point, the doctors inform Tingyan that Jiancheng is fine and only needs a long rest to fully recover, as she is suffering from mild memory loss. Typical. Everything that has happened convinces Tingyan even more that he should marry her, as he confesses that he is also completely in love. He only wants to protect her, and that determination makes her blush under his gaze, sealing an emotional pact that continues to grow. However, this gossip reaches the ears of Jiancheng's family. They call her in to scold her, repeating the rumor that she pushed Jiawei in order to win Tingyan's love, and her reputation comes under attack. Meanwhile, the conflict advances like a silent duel. Uncle and nephew argue in the hospital in the name of Jiancheng's love, testing their strength against each other. Yufeng, outraged, leaves the place with a look of contempt toward the couple, and the rivalry continues to intensify. Afterwards, our lovers talk about their future and agree that it would be best to get married once Yufeng and Jiawei are also married, so as not to complicate things too much for their families and to protect their own happiness. Later on, the businessman shares his wedding plans with his partner, Qin Suo, setting a risky timeline. Even so, Jiancheng feels paranoid, as she imagines her family's reaction if they find out she wants to marry her former fiancé's uncle, and that private fear undermines her resolve. The next day, a video goes viral in which Jiancheng accuses Yufeng of having deceived her during their relationship and declares that she would rather die than get back together with him, causing a public uproar. And to add to all the humiliation, Jiancheng addresses Yufeng by calling him her eldest nephew. She slaps him to remind him that he must be respectful now that she will technically be his aunt, and she flaunts her connection with Yan Yan as a badge of honor. Yufeng's wounded pride must be pretty severe. At that moment, Ting Yan enters the room and stands firmly by her side. He gives Yancheng an affectionate kiss, leaving Yufeng and everyone else in shock, making his stance clear to all. Afterwards, Ting Yan talks with his grandfather. The old man asks what changed in his life, reminding him that he once swore never to marry, and questions how trustworthy Jiancheng can be, hinting that maybe she's only after his money. The patriarch's doubt weighs on him like a test. However, Ting Yan is convinced that she is his ideal woman, and he proves it through simple and noble gestures, like carrying her in his arms when her feet hurt, reaffirming his commitment under the watchful eyes of others. Meanwhile, the rivalry with Yahweh intensifies and takes on a new front when the latter gets involved with Meng Tang, Jiancheng's best friend. In response, our protagonist does what she does best. She starts a fight with precision. Then she plays the victim in front of Ting Yan and accuses Yahweh of starting the argument, tipping the scales in her favor. Soon after, Ting Yan gets down on one knee and officially proposes to Jiancheng, assuring her that he wants to formalize their relationship and be one of those happy couples from dramas. He senses, however, that she sees the union as just another business deal rather than a romantic bond, and that contrast creates a bit of distance between them. After this, they share a bed for the first time. Passion flows throughout the night, and the intimacy changes the dynamic between them. Then the next morning, Jiancheng receives a call from her father. He tells her that he wants to talk about her relationship with the businessman and claims that marrying Ting Yan is perfect for the family as it will give them great social status, forcing love onto a board of interests. Meanwhile, Chinsuo and Meng have an argument over a fake photo that shows the guy with another woman, and the distrust between them erupts. In the midst of all the commotion, Chinsuo has an accident and is run over while trying to save Meng. Fortunately, his injuries are not too serious, and he only hurts his arm, which is a great relief after such a scare. Jiancheng visits him at the hospital and helps him go to the bathroom, weaving a new web of affection. After this, we return to our main couple. Ting Yan and Jiancheng visit her parents' house to discuss their future marriage, and the atmosphere is filled with awkward silences. During the conversation, Ting Yan asks the father why they decided to adopt Wentian, but the man dodges the question and changes the subject. Ting Yan finds this strange, so he decides not to say anything to Jiancheng to avoid worrying her, keeping all his concerns to himself. Even so, something doesn't add up in this family. Jiancheng breaks a family photograph during an argument, shattering the facade as well. Then Ting Yan steps in to protect her, standing firm under the pressure, and warns the parents that if they dare to bother his beloved, he will cancel all business deals between the two families. The threat leaves an icy silence throughout the room. It turns out that Ting Yan has been thinking about Jiancheng for years. He remembers how she saved his life during his darkest moments, when depression dragged him down and he could only find her unconditional support. He also recalls that car accident. She dragged him out of the car just seconds before it exploded, and his breath came back violently, a burning memory that still sustains him as their bond becomes destiny. Back in the present, Jiancheng faces cruel nightmares because of family conflicts. She wakes up agitated, sweating, her voice trembling. Ting Yan holds her in his arms and comforts her calmly. He promises to protect her from all harm until her heartbeat steadies again. Afterwards, the two get lost in their honeymoon, and everything is very romantic and charming. But it's only a temporary refuge from all the problems they're facing. Even at work, the intimacy between Ting Yan and Jiancheng shows through in their glances and gestures. Yufeng watches them from afar and is surprised by their familiarity, and the atmosphere silently grows tense as if every employee avoids looking directly at the signs of their closeness. Later on, Yufeng approaches Jiancheng. She says Jiancheng is shameless for being so close to Ting Yan during work hours, claiming that her presence makes the employees uncomfortable and that she's crossing the line. And our Jiancheng endures the blow without lowering her gaze, while the judgment of others pierces her like thorns. In another setting, Yufeng and Yahweh arrive at the hospital. They are told that she is 2 months pregnant. The news fills them both with joy. Hands clasped and restrained smiles. However, Yahweh becomes pensive as she considers using her future child as an excuse to get money from the Zhou family, and her scheming casts a shadow. Soon, Jiancheng hears about the pregnancy and is skeptical. Her doubts hang heavily in the air. Meanwhile, Ting Yang watches them from afar and feels a pang of jealousy, seeing her talking with his nephew. Even so, he remains determined to protect her, especially now that he knows Yufeng and Jiawei are harassing her about the matter and threatening to leave her without resources, which only hardens his resolve. Ting Yang's response is direct. He seeks out Su Lu, his key partner, and pressures him to fire his nephew. His voice sounds cold, controlled, and final. The room falls silent, and the message is understood without ambiguity. This news alarms Yufeng, who angrily calls Su Lu demanding an explanation. He receives a cynical reply. That's how life works. The consequences of associating with the wrong people. The line goes dead and the fury lingers in the receiver. Meanwhile, Jiancheng looks at his phone. He laughs maliciously at Jia Wei's desperate messages, in which she apologizes and begs him to reconsider firing the father of her future child. However, none of those pleas sway his decision in the slightest, and his silence is the final wall. Resentment ignites in Yufeng, who remembers the moments of friendship with Jiancheng before he got involved with her uncle, and the past stabs at her like a knife. Jia Wei, for her part, only thinks about joining the Su family with the child she is carrying. Her mother watches over her and controls her to protect this pregnancy, fueling her ambition with every instruction. On the other hand, Jiancheng keeps fighting at home. This time, she confronts her older brother, Yu Hui, and questions him about his change in attitude since Wentian arrived. It's clear that everyone prefers their stepsister, and that certainty cuts her deeply, as no one answers her directly, and the family's silence becomes an accusation. After this, Yu Hui seeks out his father and admits that his younger sister is right. Ever since Wenqian joined the family, they've treated Jiancheng differently. It's a bitter truth that none of them want to say out loud. However, the father avoids the subject, asks to forget the past and move on, closing a door that still keeps banging. At night, Jiancheng drinks with her best friend at the bar, trying to wash away every conflict with each sip, until she can't stand anymore. Ting Yang arrives and carries her home in his arms. During the walk, he comforts her. She cries and confesses to him that she's felt like a doormat in her family for years. He promises her that he will never let her down, and that he will always be by her side to protect her. But Jiancheng's family falls into crisis, and controversies erupt over embezzlement and bribery within the company. So her mother calls her, asks for help, and demands that she talk to Ting Yang so he can rescue them. Jiancheng gets furious. She says they only look for her when they need something. At that moment, she finds in Ting Yang the support her own family doesn't give her. And speaking of him, he goes from words to action when he sees Jiancheng's father and demands that his beloved have the same rights in the company as her older brother, Yu Hui. After that, he assures his future wife that there's nothing to worry about anymore. He says that he already spoke with his family to sort things out and that he'll take charge without hesitation. However, one day, Jiancheng stumbles upon a chilling truth. She discovers that Yu Hui and her adoptive sister Wen Qian are having a secret relationship. Their mother discovers them and is also disturbed, accusing Wen Qian of seducing her son, and the house fills with whispers and the walls become broken echoes. The scandal breaks out. Everyone talks, everyone judges, and everyone averts their gaze. For the first time, Jiancheng is not at the center of the chaos. She seems to watch with cold detachment, while her position is strengthened thanks to her connection with Ting Yang, who has helped her family out of financial trouble. The board is then rearranged and she remains standing. Meanwhile, Ting Yang remembers the night of the accident with Acheng, his friend and colleague. Mortally wounded, Acheng asks him to take care of his sister when he is gone. A promise that remains etched in a whisper, forging a debt he cannot forget. In the present, Ting Yang visits Suzhong, Acheng's sister. She's surprised to learn of his engagement and that he will soon be married, but instead of being happy, she shows jealousy and indignation, convinced that she deserves Ting Yang's love more than anyone else. Thus, a new villain is born. Suzhong swears to take revenge on the woman he plans to marry, and the intensity in her gaze ignites a threat. Soon after, the rivals meet. Suzhong plays the victim, carefully measuring every word, interrogating Jiancheng and trying to extract secrets about their relationship, all through sharp-pointed questions. Jiancheng decides to remain silent, standing her ground without giving in. And even though tensions were running high, later on, Jiancheng still defends Suzhong from some men who tried to assault her. She drags her away from all the violence and puts an end to the aggression with her presence. With this situation resolved, Suzhong seems to stop being a threat, which surprisingly suggests that a faint thread of friendship is beginning to form. Or at least that's how it seems until Ting Yang arrives, takes his fiancé away without even looking at Suzhong, determined and clear. A gesture that reveals a side of him that doesn't negotiate and a decision that won't change. Sometime later, Jiancheng uncovers a family secret. It turns out her father adopted Wen Qian because her father died in a fire at one of his factories. Driven by guilt, he brought her into the house as a form of reparation. This truth falls like burning ash on the table. The revelation causes chaos. Jiancheng slaps Yu Hui upon learning that he was responsible for the fire. The slap echoes, and with it, the certainty that she will never be as loved as Wen Qian within her own family, and her heart silently breaks. Meanwhile, Ting Yang makes a firm statement to the press. He states that he is in a relationship with Jiancheng and that they will soon get married, despite the rumors linking him to Suzhong. Our protagonist finally breathes a sigh of relief when Ting Yang arrives to comfort her. He reaches out to her amid all the collapse, holding her calmly and embracing her tightly. And without saying much, he shows her that he will be the family she never had and will be her anchor when everything else is shaking. In the end, the two celebrate Chinese New Year together. She runs into the arms of her beloved, finally confident in her choice. She knows that even though life can be unfair and unpredictable at times, there is always beauty when you choose the right person. And what can I say? This drama ends with a good dose of love and plenty of contracts. Well, it looks like this summary turned out a bit short. You can probably add to it with another one of the summaries I show you up here.